You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Anthony Handy, excuse me for that wonderful introduction as always. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell, the Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 421 of the podcast. This is the WNBA Mock Draft 2.0. But in this episode, we are kind of in round two. The draft lottery was this past Sunday. And there's some progress, but I still have some questions. But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. For episodes 420, 19, and 18, those have been recorded. Those will be uploaded. This will be uploaded sometime during the weekend. So be tuned in for that. And we're going to be moving right along because things are kind of going a little fast. We're getting ready to go into bowl season, college football, college basketball is moving kind of along. NFL is kind of coming down the home stretch. And WNBA free agency, the expansion draft is actually next month on the 6th. So there's a lot that's happening. So as you already see with me is Mr. Brenden Potts. Brenden, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Something you didn't say is the teams choose their players to keep for the expansion draft. On I believe the deadline's on Monday. I saw on social media, so that's something else. But I'm doing good. This is my first time doing a mock draft like this type of thing. So I'm excited to talk about it and get this going.
For sure. Again, ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. Thank you for supporting me in this channel. I will leave all the descriptions in the link below, especially Brenden's YouTube, Twitter, and the all the links to his writings. So definitely check that out. World Exposure Report. Okay, so this would be his 1.0. This will be my 2.0. As I said in the last mock draft, because we don't know what the Golden State Valkyries look like, I can't put a player there until I know what is being drafted. I can't draft an unknown into an unknown, if that makes sense. So there were a couple changes. I looked back at the rosters in terms of when you look at how I think everything will turn out, if I'm looking at everything right, I think these make the most sense. And I'm going to share my screen so you all can see.
All right. Yeah, there we go.
Let me know if that's too much. All right.
No, you're good.
Okay, so how I did it again. So as you can see, The draft lottery as of Sunday is now official. The Dallas Wings have the number 1 overall pick, followed by the Los Angeles Sparks, the Chicago Sky, and the Washington Mystics. So, Brenden, I'm going to give you the floor first on why you think Paige Bueckers will be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 WNBA draft.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about Paige, mostly positive, but Paige is another slam dunk number 1. She's no question she's gonna be the top pick. And I think the first thing that I firmly believe I've stood 10 toes down on this take is if she had not gotten hurt, when she tore her ACL, and missed her junior year, if she had not gotten hurt, then she would have gotten the same amount of love or just a little bit less amount of love that Caitlin Clark got that season, because that's really when she took off. It's when Paige was hurt. Not taking anything away from Caitlin Clark and her still on the court, but I'm saying like Paige Bueckers was Caitlin Clark before Caitlin Clark or coming out of high school, going to UConn. Like she got a lot of hype. It reminds me in the NBA of Zion Williamson and Victor Wembanyama. But so that's one point that I wanted to make. But the other point that I wanted to make, I actually talked about this with my cousin, but a lot of people think this. They think they label Paige as injury prone, and I wanna preface the difference of injury prone and just plain unlucky. Injury prone, at least to me, I don't know what the meaning is to you, but injury prone to me is you suffer an injury, whether it's major or little, and then it's usually a major injury, and then after that recovery, you just can't stay on the court because of like nagging injuries that either have to do with this major injury or just happens in general. You can't stay on the court throughout the duration of your career. That labels you injury prone. Unlucky is just you suffer a major injury or two in the course of your career. It takes you out for 1 to 2 years, depending on how severe the injury, and that's it. And I feel like with Paige, she suffered 2 catastrophic injuries. One's taken her out most of the season, and then one's taken her out all of the season. And I feel like Paige is just straight up unlucky. I don't view her as injury prone. And that leads me into something that I think it's gonna be a game changer for the Dallas Wings. Watch or look at Paige's impact on this team. It's measured by team success, and you can tell that a UConn team with Paige Bueckers is exponentially better than a UConn team without her. We have a sample size of the with and without Paige, and I feel like that's going to be a huge benefit to Dallas. And what I love most about Paige is her resiliency. Her resilience. I've wrote about it when I thought the Sparks were going to get the top pick, but I just love her resiliency after injuries. Her numbers don't change, which shows that she is able to come back from major injuries. She damn near shattered her leg or fractured her leg in her sophomore year, I believe, and then she tore her ACL in the offseason coming into her junior year. 2 catastrophic injuries that are really hard to come back from. And the year that she fractured her leg, she came back the same season and led the team to the Final Four. So you can't overlook that. And I know that pro seasons are shorter than college. So if she were to suffer an injury, it would be much shorter of a season that she would play. But I'm hoping to God that she doesn't. But she is going to be a game changer for the Dallas Wings if that's in fact where she goes. Um, I know I've talked a lot about this pick, but I feel like this people are talking about the dynamic duo of Arike and Paige, and I feel like it's going to work just fine because I feel like they are going to want to make each other better. I feel like Arike has the knowledge to, or has the wisdom to kind of, wisdom and the patience to kind of step back and mentor this young and promising player, kind of like how the veterans on Indiana are mentoring Caitlin Clark, and I feel like that's going to be the same thing for Dallas. So I think this is a great fit for Paige.
I don't really have anything to add on to that. He pretty much took all the words out of my mouth, other than this would be Dallas's, the last 8 years, they've had 6 lottery picks in the last 8 drafts. I mean, really their biggest needs outside of shot creating, they need defense, especially in the backcourt, a ball handler, and having a true point guard next to Arike would make the most sense. So, I mean, I think without a shadow of a doubt, she should be the number 1 overall pick in this year, next year's draft.
Can I say one more thing? Sorry, can I say one more thing before we move on?
Sure.
Now they have a bargaining piece in free agency with Satu Sabali. Now they have a real piece to say like, hey, come back to Dallas because this could be really special.
For sure, I agree. The Los Angeles Sparks is now the 2nd overall pick. We both agreed here with Kiki Arifin out of USC. I mean, shit, I think I did, at one point I made the argument. I mean, I think the first 2 picks are interchangeable. I can't see them drafting another guard. They're really guard heavy. They definitely work on the wing depth. I looked at the roster. Backcourt, defensively, I think could use some work. But I think with her size, she could definitely beat you off the dribble. I think of playing alongside Rickea Jackson, Cameron Brink, Dearica Hamby. I think her ability to find the basket in many ways, stretching the floor, I think would definitely do wonders. And now that Lynn Roberts is now the head coach for the Sparks, one could only imagine what that will do. And also too, you guys have their 26 pick.
Yeah.
You gave up Kia. We traded with Kia Nurse.
Kia Nurse, yeah. So that was a cap move too to get Skylar Diggins-Smith and NECA.
So if you think about it, it's really I think Kiki makes the most sense in terms of impact. So yeah, that's who I would say for the Sparks.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a I'm kind of at a crossroads with this selection because, again, I think there's no question this should be the 2nd pick in the draft. I think if you're the Sparks, you pick best player available, and I think that's Kiki Arifin. And the other side of that is I really think they have a lot of good posts. You said they're guard heavy. I think they're post heavy. With Azre State, with players like Azre Stevens, Dearica Hamby, you already mentioned, Cameron Brink. It's hard for me to envision the fit right out of the gate with her coming to this team, but it's something that they can figure out, and something that I think is definitely going to come into play this next season if indeed they do select Kiki. Kiki and Cameron Brink played together three seasons, I believe. I could be wrong. And it would be 4. They played 3 to 4 seasons at Stanford, and they were probably the 2 of the most dynamic post players in the Pac-12 over their tenure. And it's very interesting how that's going to translate to the pros. And I'm thinking that once Lynn Roberts gets Kiki to the team, she's going to be like, man, I am so glad I don't have to coach against these 2 posts. Now they're on my team. But don't be surprised if you see a lot of time where both Kiki and Cam Brink are both in the lineup. And that's gonna be a good dynamic duo that's brought back. But just like we talked about with Paige Beckers getting mentored, Kiki has a great veteran is coming into a great veteran locker room with Erica Hamby who mentored Cam, Azrae Stevens who will mentor whoever they select. So I think this is a great situation long term for Kiki. I just don't know about the short term fit. So we'll see what happens.
For sure. We're going to move on to Chicago. This is for the rest of the mock draft. This is where myself and Brenden parted ways. Again, this is his 1.0, and this is my 2.0. And he went with Olivia Miles, and I went with Sonia Citron. Brenden, why do you picked Olivia Miles? Go ahead.
I just think this is the best player available, and like you really can't. After the first 2, you can't really go wrong with, because I think we're kind of going after the same thing with our 3rd pick is a guard, the scoring guard. We're just scoring in different ways in terms of which guard we select for the Sky and for the Mystics. But I just think this is the best player available. And my thing with Olivia Miles is it's how tight will her leash be right out of the gate. Will kind of the same thing I said for Kiki. How tight will her leash be at the start of the season? Some rookies like kind of have to have a period where they sit back and watch and wait for their number to be called, and then some rookies just are let go right out of the gate. So I'm interested to see whoever Chicago takes, if Tyler Marsh, the new head coach, or how he handles their minutes, whichever rookie they select. So for me, it's Olivia Miles is just the best player available for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I'm looking like this because there's a couple things he left out. So he just with the number 1 overall pick in Paige, he talked about the injuries with Paige, the same thing with Olivia. I mean, even through her injuries, Olivia's her ability to pass, score the ball, the type of playing style, I guess, especially with other bigs, I think would be great with a player like Angel and Camilla. I'm just curious to see how that will look, especially again. I really won't know how it will really look until after free agency, but I think she makes the most sense. I picked Sonia in terms of, for me, I think the way I see Coach now Tyler Marsh, his system, like Sonia is someone who can space the floor offensively, that can open the floor for Angel and Camilla. That's just me. I think she's probably she plays the lanes defensively pretty well. And then also too, like I think she can finish around the rim. That's something I think the Chicago Sky missed a lot last season, and I think they could have, especially not giving Dana Evans opportunities that they should have. I think that for me, that makes the most sense. With the 4th overall pick, Brenden went with Sonia Cintron. I went with Anisha Morrow. I picked Anisha Morrow because outside of, obviously, I know the elephant in the room is point guard. So that someone that can facilitate the ball, we need a wing, and that's about it. I think Anisha fits Washington the best. The biggest thing also too is rebounding. If you pushed me, I could see why Sonia could be a good fit in Washington. I'm looking more at, you kind of have that with Errol Atkins and then Brittany Sykes, like, and then potentially if you want to keep Jade Melbourne, like
Potentially. Hold on. Potentially. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Had to get that in there. You know that.
And then on top of that, they traded Maisha Hines-Allen, so you're already kind of thin there. I mean, my notes here, she can rebound the ball. I think there's still room to grow. I just think that the biggest thing is how would she fit, and what would really be her true position in the league. I think that's still something that needs to be defined. And also, too, the really other than the biggest thing, her 3-point shooting. I hate to do this, but I'm gonna compare. They did this to Haley Jones a couple years ago. I think Haley Jones should have been a top 5 pick, but because of her 3-point shooting, she fell out of the top 5 and was drafted by Atlanta. I can't. I saw a couple mock drafts where they had Anisha go as low as 9. I can't see her going no lower than 5. So to me, she makes more sense in Washington. Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, I kind of saw it as similar to LA. I know I'm drawing back to LA on a lot of these, but I definitely get what you're going with Anissa Morrow, and honestly, like these 2 picks, you can't go wrong with selecting one of those. I think it's just the fit, who fits better, and I think Centrone will provide some 3-point shooting that the Mystics could use, but I can definitely see Anissa Morrow going to the Mystics. You made some really good points with the need for rebounding and the fit with them as well.
For sure. Let's move on to the 5th overall pick. I said inapplicable in A because, again, I do not know until the expansion draft, respectfully, until I know how that team will look. I can't put another player there and just say, hey, look, like, you know what I'm saying? So you give me your thoughts on why you picked Anisha Morrow.
Yeah, I kind of wish we you told me that before we started recording, because I would have said the same thing. But it's just the same thing that I said before, right? Like it's best player available. We don't know how. I literally put down unsure how the team will be built. We don't know how the Valkyries will be selected, what their direction is as a franchise. Are they going to be aggressive like the Vegas Golden Knights team when they expanded? Or are they going to go after a championship like their ownership said that they should do? Or are they gonna build from scratch? So what are they gonna do right out of the gate? We don't know. So I just picked Anissa Morrow because I thought she is like I said earlier, best player available. So I literally just picked the latter of the last team the last two players we discussed. So
I hear you. I mean, I think Anissa would be a good fit. Again, but until we know what this expansion draft looks like, I think we're just looking at right now unknowns at the moment. Brenden, just real quick, you can still see this, right?
yeah.
You don't see the other screen, just checking.
Yep, I got you.
Okay, great. Let's move on back to the Washington Mystics as they have the 6th overall pick. And again, this is where we parted ways. I said they should take Akoya Lee out of Kansas State, and Brenden said they should take Ayoka Lee. Excuse me, thank you. And Brenden said they should take. I'm gonna have to say her name. I'm gonna say her last name right. Dominique McLongna. Out of France. Brenden, why did you pick Miss Dominique from France?
I think she's had a great pro career overseas, and I think they could use someone like her. I haven't dug too much into her game. I've just heard a lot of good things about her. I want to talk more about your selection, and I know you'll get to it, but I really like Ayoka Lee as a prospect. There are differentiating opinions about playing many years in college, and one player like Haley Van Lith playing so many years in college, and then another player, or kind of falling off, the way that Haley did. Not to pick too much about her, and another player who stays long but succeeds. And I think Ayoka Lee, people forget how truly dominant she was the first couple of years that she played in college. I know something about that, considering how she dominated WSU in the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. So that's a great pick, and I think that's you talked about rebounding, the last selection that you guys had, and I think that's a great pickup if that's the need that you're going after.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Mystics roster, and I mean, more than likely, I mean, I already know they're going to probably the 4. I know that they're going to protect for sure: Ariel Atkins, Brittany Sykes, Aaliyah Edwards, Shakira Austin. The last 2 spots are honestly, truthfully, wild cards. Steffi Dolson is older, a great vet, but no, I think we could go younger. And I think I like Sika Cone. I like the potential. I saw the bright spots when she played, when she was here. And then there's Emily Inkster, but she's more of a wing. I think they need a true center. I mean, I think Ayoka's a first round pick. If I'm being honest, she could. I mean, really, all these teams, I would say, particularly Minnesota. I've heard a lot of arguments that Fee needs to play alongside a 5, but if I'm being honest, a player like Shakira, I think, and Aaliyah, I think would benefit playing alongside a true center. I mean, just for some stats here, last season she was 2nd in RAPM. She had the lowest turnover percentage, and she was 2nd best at the rim. Washington needs that. Again, I think in a post, I just think sometimes I wish we had that. I understand we like to be a 3 and D, but I'm just curious to see who the next coach would be, how that all would fit. So that's just who I would see the Mystics taking if I had the 6th overall pick. I'm kind of building the team, ladies and gentlemen, kind of in a different way. I'm valuing more rebounding and a post presence than more of I'm building it from the inside to the outside, if that makes sense.
No, and I think that's good because you kind of established like you're pretty much set at the guard position. I mean, you are if you're not keeping Jade Melbourne, but that's another story for this day. But dominating for the Caps, by the way. Shout out to Jade Melbourne. You kind of established the guard position as hey, we're set, and when we pick our 6 players, our guards are going to be our priority. I saw on I think it was Alexa said or posted the projections of which team is going to pick which player or keep which players when the 6 are revealed, and she actually did select Emily Ainsler as someone that Mystics are protecting. So so I like that. I like that pick. And I think that's a bold move. I love Emily Ainsler. She's a scrappy player. She's another player that fans think the Indiana Fever did wrong. But no, I'm glad that she ended up on the Mystics because she balled out. And so I think I like the direction that you're going with building with rebuilding the Mystics because I think it's important to know.
For sure.
I was looking down the rest of your list and I did want to point out something. You have Janiyah Barker going twice.
Right. Yeah. I'm explaining that why.
Okay. I just wanted to see if you were aware of that.
No, I'm aware of that. I know why.
Okay. Cool.
Let's go to number 6, the 7, the New York Liberty.
Yeah. There's a couple of avenues I went with this. I think the New York Liberty could use another veteran guard or veteran international guard, and I think this would be the New York Liberty are their tendency. They have a lot of star power on the roster, but they have a tendency to sneakily or pick a player that nobody's going to know about or very few people are going to know their name or be able to pronounce their name, but turn them into a star in this league. And I think that whether it's present or future, when I'm talking about turn them into a star. One of my favorite stories from, I know we're talking about this draft, but one of my favorite stories from last year's draft was that of Jalen Sherrod and how she was not selected, but she should have been selected.
Should have been, yes.
But for her, it didn't matter. She still put her nose to the grindstone. She got a training camp contract with the Liberty. She was cut, and then she was brought back, and then she was cut, and then she was brought back. But and then at the end of the season, she became a champion in her first year. And I want to see, this is something I know we're talking about another player than Jalen Sherrod, but I want to see the practices that she put in, the work that she put in for the Liberty, because that just shows how hard work can get you, or hard work is always noticed. And I just love that story. So it came from the New York Liberty. So and she's a fantastic player, and I think that this can happen in New York as well. So
for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Real quick, I did want to clear up for the next pick. Okay, so for the New York Liberty, we said I said Roy Harmon. Brenden, you went with Asia Civicki.
Sure, let's go with that.
What were your overall thoughts? Why did you pick her?
Well, that's kind of I kind of just went over that. But the other part of that I forgot to mention is I know a lot of New York Liberty fans, and like Seattle, they're also UConn fans. Thank you, Brianna Stewart. So I did this. I did this because I actually like the player, but I also did this in spite of the UConn fans because I really, really, really don't want AZ Fudd to go to the Liberty. But I also really want to see the T that'll come with this next pick.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Very gutsy of you. I remember with Roy Harmon. Probably around this pick. This is where it kind of gets tough. I think there's talent, but I think outside of that for the Liberty, I'm looking at my notes. Size, maybe backcourt depth. I think Rory probably is the best fit for them. If I'm being honest, if you have my feet to the fire, I consider Janiyah here. I consider Pow Pow. Because especially with Vandersloot, we don't know what she's going to be. She's getting older, so definitely use a guard. But also too, I think they already kind of have enough wing and bigs to protect. Like I definitely know they're protecting Phoebus, Naira Sabli. They probably won't protect Kennedy Burke. Kayla Thornton, maybe. 7's a toss-up for sure. 8. Okay, so hear me out on number 8. So the reason why you see Janiyah Barker twice on my mock draft, I actually was torn with Indiana. When Brenden sent me his mock draft, I actually looked back at Indiana's roster, and I was torn. So I think, honestly and truthfully, they could take either or of these players if available. If I'm being honest, Brenden, let me give you the floor.
You're talking about them taking Janiyah Barker or AZ Fudd?
For Indiana, yes.
Okay. I went with AZ Fudd because of the back half of this tee. I would love listen. Indiana fans already had to wear, or I'm sorry, South Carolina and Iowa fans already had to wear their Get Along T-shirt with Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark. Now let's make the T-shirt bigger and bring in UConn. Did that not? That just makes the team more fun, and so that's one part of this is I really want to see UConn fans and Iowa fans and South Carolina fans and Caitlin Clark fans. I want them all to unite because I think that would be a lot of fun. But on a serious note, I really, really like AZ Fudd's defense. I think Stephanie White. I've written about her fit with the Indiana Fever. I think it's one of the greatest coach fits out of the new coaches that we've had. And she prides her team on defense. She prides both of her teams that she's had with the Connecticut Sun on defense. And yeah, it's mainly with the post, but if the young guards on a team are given the opportunity, then they're proven to thrive. I think Dejanay Carrington's a big example of that. with Connecticut. And no, I'm not saying AZ Butt's going to be the next Dejanay Carrington, but I think he could if given the opportunity. And so I think AZ Butt, while the T is certainly appealing with the colleges meshing together. I think AZ Butt would actually be a really good fit with the Indiana Fever.
Say it again one more time. You were kind of going in and out.
Yeah, I was saying that the fit with AZ Butt's fit with the Indiana Fever, just because she fits what Coach Stephanie White has kind of preached over the last couple of years with her defense and the guards that she's had with her team.
Okay. I just want to make sure I heard that right. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree. I'm going to give Brenden the floor for his Seattle Storm. Go get him, buddy.
Yeah, I selected Tahina Pau out of South Carolina. First couple of years at Oregon were she kind of starred for her team at Oregon, or for her teams at Oregon, sorry, for the first 3 years, and then at her fourth year or her last year, she played for South Carolina. And Pau was she kind of proved me wrong at or as thinking I did not think she was going to be the most impactful transfer heading into the season. But she definitely was, and she just turned her game up to a different level last season, and she could definitely do that this season. I've preached so many times why Nika Mule fits with this Storm team, and I think the same thing with Tahina Pau. Like her grit and determination and her way about her totally fits the culture of the Storm team. And so I think she would be a great fit for Seattle in terms of like culture fit.
Wow, I thought he was going to go more on it. I thought he was going to give more than that, but that's all good. So I said, ladies and gentlemen, that they should take Cheyenne Sellers out of the University of Maryland. The one thing that stood out to me is even though you have Jordan Horston, Nika Mule is out with a torn ACL, and more likely she will be out for half of next year.
She's not playing next year, I don't think.
Yeah, so
that could just be me, but I'm not 100% sure.
For sure. I think with Cheyenne, you're getting a player that is really, really good in the transition. She has a high IQ with the basketball, very athletic. At times, when watching as covering the Maryland women's basketball team, I think could be better with point guard court vision. What I mean by that is last year, and some of this is not having a point guard, a true point guard. And I think now when you have someone like a Sarah Tibiasu, now that makes things a little more easier. So when you look at Seattle, you have that. So she's 6'2", and I think would be a great fit for you guys. That's just me. Number 10, which the Connecticut Sun had this pick, but traded when they traded Marina Mabry. Chicago Sky had the 10th overall pick, and Brenden and I both agreed that Georgia Amore should be the 10th overall pick out of Kentucky. The one thing I have noticed is that her numbers so far have kind of taken a dip, but again, Kenny Brooks is using her more as a facilitator. And I think that's a little disingenuous for her to kind of dip. I've seen some dip in some mock drafts, but I think she would be a good fit because, again, they need somebody, Chicago, who is a true point guard. And I think this would be a good fit. If I'm being honest, she'd make a good case for being Washington Mystic. So
Yeah, I agree. I think she would be a great fit in Chicago.
The 11th overall pick, excuse me, of Minnesota Lynx. I went with Janiyah Barker. I'm going to lean more towards Janiyah for this pick, only because I feel like whatever happens with the expansion draft, and again with ever free agency and all that, I think Janiyah would be a great fit. Ayoka would be a good fit here in Minnesota because again, having a true center, a true five would be good.
Those posts in Minnesota, if Ioka Lee ends up being on the Lynx, man, oh man. Ah.
We're never going to hear the end of it, are we?
Huh?
So we're never going to hear the end of it, are we?
Oh man, it's we've already talked about Ioka Lee, but she could be a real wild card in this draft. There's a real wide range of outcomes. I don't think I've seen the second round. All right, actually I take that back. I think I have seen the second round for Lee. I don't know what when they were posted, the mock draft, but she can definitely be a first rounder, and I would definitely see, because of how stacked this draft is, I could definitely see her being a top of the second round pick.
Mhm.
But I think she's a real wild card. So whoever gets her is gonna get a fantastic player, whether it's for need or best player available.
For sure. But for me, my notes on Janiyah, obviously she's very versatile, athletic, and I think in that system in Minnesota, playing alongside Fee, I think would be great. The only thing is, again, you have a Dorka. Oh my gosh, Alana Smith, Bridget Carlton. That kind of can muddy the water a little bit. I don't know what they're going to do about Diamond Miller or Alyssa Paley. So again, it's going to be interesting. So with the 12th overall pick, I said that the Phoenix Mercury should draft Sanaya Rivers out of NC State. I know some people may actually like this pick because Phoenix last year was lethargic defensively, and especially in the transition was another glaring eyesore, and Sanaya would do great in fixing that. But also, too, again, last year was a great example of, you can't just I feel like you had three of the same players that do the same thing. That's just my opinion. And then outside of that, there really wasn't else much better options coming off the bench. I think her shooting and finishing at the rim, those things will get better for Sanaya, but I think she would definitely be a good fit in Phoenix, in my opinion.
I love Sanaya so much. I've actually met her a couple of times. She's so nice too. I encourage you, if you, this is talking to the audience, and if you haven't, I encourage you guys to watch Mark Schindler's, who we've had on before.
The great Mark Schindler. Yes.
Yeah.
I love those things. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, I encourage you to watch those film rooms. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but he does a film room with a select number of players.
He did one with Cheyenne Sellers.
Yeah.
That was funny.
He did one with Naya. He did one with Shania Rivers, and I really liked watching them. I have to see if I'm all caught up, but I've really liked those. So I encourage you to watch them if you haven't. I'm trying to get him to do stuff with some WSU players, because I bet they would, current and former, because I bet they would have a lot of fun watching their own film. But that's what came to mind when I saw that. But Janiyah Barker I selected for the Mercury just because the post needs more work. I think I said last year they were so dependent on Brittany Griner. Um, and their games, although it wasn't exclusive, like it wasn't plain and simple. I think they were too dependent on BG, and I think they should kind of fill the depth of their front court. You didn't mention this, but we don't know the future of DT. We don't know if this was the last year or not. So I think that although you didn't intend um, for that to be a reason, I think that could also be a reason for you selecting Sanaya Rivers, a guard. But a quick note on NC State this year, I think they're going to be really dangerous come March.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. I mean, again, ladies and gentlemen, there were only really about a week and some change from the expansion draft. Once we get a better picture of the draft, especially expansion draft, because like Brenden said earlier in the beginning, they have until Monday to select the 6 players, and for some teams, example like the Connecticut Sun, they can't protect DeWanna Bonner or Brianna Jones because they already exhausted their core options, so they can't be selected by the Golden State Valkyries, and they can't be protected by the Sun, if that makes sense. So Tina Charles is another example.
Eka Gumake is an example for Seattle.
Yep, exactly.
Even though she's an unrestricted free agent.
Mm-hmm. Same like with DB and Breezy. So, but it was like I think it was who was it for the Dream? Like Iyana Rapport,
yeah.
Repair, but she's suspended. Her contract suspended, but she still can be drafted by the Valkyrie.
Yeah. Okay. So I think because contract suspended is such a I don't know the word, but like it's overblown term.
Right, it is.
If that just means it's not going to count against the cap.
For the season.
And Matilda Villa, her contract is, I think it's suspended as well, but that's just because she played overseas, and it's so like a few years ago, Maureen Johannes had her contract suspended for I think 1 to 2 years. It was the 2021 Olympics, because I remember watching that year and I'm like, who is this player?
I think Emma Meeson might have had her contract suspended.
Yeah. So and I remember that season that I watched, or that Olympics that I watched, Johannes. I knew a guy I know a guy who used to work for the Liberty, and I was asking him like, why isn't she in the WNBA? Oh, she's with the Liberty, but her contract is suspended, which basically means she can't play.
She can't play. Right.
Yeah, she's not playing this season, but she could play next season. So that's basically what contract suspended means.
Right, for sure. That makes sense. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah. So
little history lesson
for sure. We appreciate that. Thank you, Brenden. But I mean, outside of that, I mean, also to respectfully in my mock draft, I know there was Brenden had some couple international players. For me, my focus is players that are going to be an impact now.
Okay.
One thing that bothered me last year was that Atlanta, Connecticut took draft and stash, and the history, you don't really see those players that you drafted like from overseas on the WNBA roster like that. So again, like Dominique, for example, she's 18. Respectfully, like she probably really won't be ready for the W like another year or two. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. Yeah, that's how I did my draft. I'm going by most impact now. And I think that my 12 make the sense, but again, it can change once the expansion draft occurs, and then free agency, because the free agency starts on the 20th, 21st, and then the contracts have to be finalized by the 1st of February. Wow. And then there's the draft right after that. Was it April?
Yeah, it has to be April because of the Final Four
So
in the championship.
goodness gracious.
My question is, we were talking about before we started, who are some of your sleepers, whether they're in the first round or in the later rounds?
Sleepers. Maddie Westfield will be one. If she's not a first round pick, Ayoka Lee for sure.
Yeah, I put Ayoka Lee and Sanaya Rivers too.
Sleeper. Those are the two right now that come to my mind. Maybe oh my gosh, Betts, South Carolina. She could be a sleeper for sure.
Betts?
Yeah, South Carolina.
Okay. You're not talking about Lauren.
Lauren Betts, yeah.
Yeah, that's US or not USC, UCLA.
No, where's isn't not Lauren Betts. She plays South Carolina. Chloe
Kitts. You're talking about Chloe Kitts.
Yeah, thank you.
Chloe Kitts. I don't know if is she eligible?
No.
She's a junior. I don't know if she's eligible or not. But also I'm glad that we're talking about this, because there's some mock drafts that have some current juniors but are eligible for the draft, meaning they are 22 or they have their 4-year degree.
We're not drafted. The Washington Mystics are not drafted Sedona Prince. I saw a mock draft. I was disgusted by that. They're not drafted. It's not happening.
Well, here's the thing. Is what I'm saying is some juniors are in some mock drafts, and I remember we talked about it before making our mock drafts, and I do not have any of those players in this one, just because we don't know if they are going to stay another year in college. So that's one of the that's another uncertainty that
Lauren Betts. That's what I put on my thing, my notes.
Yeah, Lauren Betts is a if she comes out into this draft, she's going to be a top 10 pick for sure.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know why I said Chloe Kitts. I'm sorry. Lauren Betts.
It's okay. But UCLA.
Yeah.
I have a sleeper, and I did want to talk about this. That's why I brought up the question. I'm gonna try and not get emotional during this, but
let's land the plane.
There's a player on UCLA who's coming out for this season, or coming out for this draft. She started at Washington State, Charlie Sledger-Walker. She is my top sleeper. I'm not expecting her to go into the later rounds. Or I'm sorry, I'm not expecting her to go into the first round. I'm expecting her to go into round 2 or 3. But she's one of my best friends, and she's one of the coolest people I've met while I was in school. And to watch what she's done for Washington State and at UCLA, she hasn't played there yet. She's still recovering from an injury. But I know she's going to play great, and I know she's going to do great there. But just to watch her do what she's done for the past 4 years and up to 5, it just makes me so proud. It makes me so proud as a fan of basketball and as a friend watching her. And that day that I hear her name called or that I see her name on the ticker as being selected by a team, because I know she will, it's going to be one of the coolest moments, I think, for myself, and I know for her as well and her family. So she's a fantastic person. She's a great I hype her up as a person so much, but she actually is a really good player. I think UCLA is a great fit for her in terms of she has the talent around her to succeed. Not saying she didn't at Washington State, but she still has a lot of talent at UCLA. We talked about Betts. I think Charlize has the best post player she's ever played with. Not taking anything away from Bella, she's great, but Lauren Betts is a different animal, and those pick and rolls are going to be so fun to watch once Charlize is back on the court. And the Betts is off to a great start. I think it's going to be even better once Ledger Walker is back on the court. But that just proves that a player like Ledger Walker can succeed if she's surrounded by the right pieces. So that's why I think she can be a real luxury for a team that drafts her in the later rounds. So that's just the little spiel I wanted to do for Charlize, since we were talking about the subject.
That was pretty good. I hope that she is considered in the draft. I think she should be. For me, if I did a second round, she should be like this in the second round, late first round, in my opinion. I've seen the tape. I think she's great. I saw a little bit of her. We played her last year when we were in overseas in Cancun.
Triple double. Sorry,
Yeah.
I caught.
Anywho, as I was saying, with the you're laughing, but who won the game?
I think we did, didn't we?
No, we did.
Okay.
No, I'm just messing with you. But
Yeah.
no, seriously, it's all love though. But
Yeah.
seriously, also in this one thing, my concern is with this draft, and there's some true 4s and 5s. The one thing I'm concerned about, and Brenden will touch on this when we get our post-expansion draft with the 2 new hirings. I don't want to see like an Ayoka Lee or a Lauren Betts if they come out, or even the Dominique from France. Where you are, like example, you have an Atisha here, and they're sitting on your bench. You're not developing them. You know, I want to see the bigs be developed. I don't want to see them just sitting there collecting dust. And you know, that's my concern. I just think that we need to really start truly developing our bigs. That's just my take on it. So, did you have something to say?
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I know you're just speaking about the bigs perspective, but Seattle had the tendency to do that with Nika Mule. Like, she barely played last year, and yeah, she probably developed her game a little bit, learned a lot in practices and stuff, but it's nothing, or it's nothing against practices, but like it's nothing like the real deal. And it really says something when the Seattle fans are waiting till the very last game of the regular season to see Nika score her first points. But
for sure, yeah, I agree.
I'm still so salty that didn't happen at home.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, you spoke about the bigs, but like same thing for the guards too. It's like this should be a draft class where everybody is getting not significant minutes, but minutes nonetheless at some point in the season.
Yeah, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, there's one thing I did want to talk about. I know, Brenden, we talked about this before we started.
Yeah.
but I feel like it is a little appropriate to kind of talk about now because you are involved with this team. And you also talked about you had an announcement you wanted to make. So I wanted to transition into that as our one final thought, but we're going to take a break and then we're going to transition to one final thought. We'll be right back. And ladies and gentlemen, we are back and we're going to be getting ready for one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
Okay, the one final thought. This is I've heard all the noise and I've heard all the discourse from both sides, and I thought this was good to talk about because since my buddy here covers the team, the Seattle Storm. There's obviously some stuff that's going on, and there's an investigation with towards the coaches for player mistreatment. And this has been something from the reporting to the cryptic posts on social media. I'm really at a point where I'm just really want this to kind of be done with, and everyone goes their own ways. I don't want to be too long on this, but I'm just going to go first, if you don't mind. For me, I think whatever happened, first and foremost, in a locker room, there's going to be moments where you're going to have a players only meeting where there's going to be some choice words. Let me give you an example. Recently, the 76ers had a players only meeting, and that got leaked out somehow. And when you look at this one with the Seattle Storm, Skylar's leading the meetings, and they're very, very explicit. Respectfully saying I'm a fan of Skylar Diggins-Smith. I think she is a great player, but there is, as a leader, and I understand everybody's built different, but you have to be willing to adapt and adjust. And first and foremost, you're if I'm an established player like Jewel's a champion. You can get in people's face. You can get in some people's faces and rah, 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 rah. You can't do that to everybody. I think where you have to be willing to adapt and adjust. And this is, and I'm sorry to say this, but if you've paid attention with Skylar, there's always something. I mean, there's the Team USA camp. I'm just saying, like, at some point, like, something has to be different, because it's not just Jewel, it's players in the locker room. Shady Russell's put out something. And that lets me kind of know where this should have been nipped in the butt by Noel as soon as it started to be problems. But obviously it hasn't, because as you've seen, Miss Lloyd, Jules' mom, has been on social media, and that's been something. I'm not calling for Noel's job, but something has to be done, because correct me if I'm wrong, Brenden. Management is basically, we're not getting involved in this. This can easily be handled. I disagree. I can't remember who said this, but players can hash it out. Not necessarily. I've seen, depending on the league, I've seen teams trading players and that are disgruntled, and that still becomes a whole mess. So that's just my 2 cents on what's going on in Seattle.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment when you talked about Skylar Diggins-Smith being a great player, and I still think she's a great culture fit for this team and what they're building here. I'm in general, not just with the Seattle Storm, but in general with news and sports. I see news out, and I wait for action to be taken, and I wait for it to be like official action, whether it's a transaction in the organization, whether it's a coach firing or a coach hiring or whatever, or or player suspension, or I wait for action to be taken, and it to be as official as possible, and none of this like reporting nonsense, because about half of it, maybe even a little bit more than half of it, could just be rumors and mean nothing. So that's where, in seeing all of this discourse that we see, I'm just thinking it's smoke to build a bigger fire, when there may not even be that big of a fire at the end of the day. But here's where I stand on this. I don't think it's as big a deal as we are thinking, until it's actually proven that like this is a gigantic big thing that we need as Storm fans or people who cover the team need to worry about. And the thing that I want to say on this, the top thing I want to say on this is, if fans want, or if people think Skylar Diggins-Smith does not want to come back to the team next year, she's going to have to be traded, because she's under contract for 1 more year. And that's the thing that she signed up for last offseason. NECA only signed a 1-year deal, so she's a free agent. And that, I think that's a bigger eyebrow raise is the future of NECA, because it was said, I'm not going to say reported, but it was said that NECA was not in these player-only meetings, or she was excluded from these player-only meetings, which, okay, that could go a few different ways of thinking. So I'm just not going to go there. But you talked about the discourse from Jewel Lloyd's mom and the coaching staff. That started from the end of the playoff run, because of everything that Storm fans were screaming about with Jewel Lloyd. I mean, I did game 1 of that Aces series, because Jewel Lloyd.
I remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing, and this is basically not the same thing, but different. That she was held out apparently because of or not. I'm sorry, not apparently, but she was held out because she wouldn't or she was held out so she wouldn't get to a certain scoring milestone. So she
That's been
didn't get.
confirmed that that's not true. That never happened.
Okay, so but even if it did, she had a not as good of a year as we would have we would have thought she would have had, even with Skylar and NECA. So that's not really a good that's not really that doesn't really sound valid um, as a fault of Coach Quinn. Like that doesn't sound like something harsh toward you know what I mean. But
Right, I get you, but I guess what my thing is when you hear well, from what I've read, that she was not pleased. It's more from upper management. You're bringing in the certain players, like, well, why are you doing this? Is again, like, I can't remember who said this, and I oh my gosh, I can't remember who the person who said it, but shout out to them. Um, and they mentioned basically how Stewie and Sue Bird, their styles of leadership, that fits more for Jewel. That can't fit for someone like Skylar. I really, really think the problem is when you look at it from the jump, and I use Phoenix is a good example of this. You've got a whole bunch of you had a whole bunch of personalities in Seattle. I think Noel is a great coach, but Noel is very, well, I just think that we, and I'm not saying she needs to be loud, but when you've got things got to be got to be checked, okay, and when that's not happening, that is a recipe for disaster. And I knew something wasn't right. I knew, especially after we beat you guys in the regular season, when
yeah,
it was Skylar and Gabby and then Coach Quinn. That's when I knew something wasn't right.
yeah,
um,
that's I think because we've talked about that too. I think that was a tipping point in the wrong direction for our season as well. Even though we had a pretty good record, we made the playoffs. You know, we got all these things that we we're trying to get, but like we had a firm grasp on home court advantage. We lost it because we didn't win enough games, or we had enough, or we had a bad last part of the season. But I think it did start with that Washington Mystics game that we lost, and I think that was the tipping point of all of it. But I I believe in this coaching staff. Um, it's gonna be. I find it very very interesting that many staff members, or not many. I don't know if many or not, but multiple staff members from Seattle are leaving. Um, the PR guy is gone. Um, Perry Hong, uh, one of the assistant coaches for the Storm, is gone. I believe he's with the Lakers. Um, so multiple staff members are gone. I don't know if it's tied to this or not, but I just think that's a very interesting point. Um, but it's not something that I'm too concerned about right now. Like again, I'm still in off season mode, but it's not something I'm too overly concerned about now until action is taken, or some like actual news uh, from like the league or the team or whatever is released. Because I'm at this point I'm just done hearing straight up stories in my mind.
Oh no, I agree. Because at this point, I do agree. It is kind of getting, it is getting kind of old, and it's not old, but I think of this the reporting. It's just so many reports, and I thought the one where I think we're now it's like it's a 2-part. I'm not trying to take shots, but who I think someone's giving that person bad information and setting them up because some of the stuff in that article doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion. But let's transition to that. You have an announcement to make. Go ahead, buddy.
Yes, I am excited. This is actually like good news that we could be using in this end of the show. I will be covering a basketball tournament. It's a Thanksgiving tournament, but it's it's the week of. It's right before. It's called the Big Dogs Classic or the Ball Dogs Classic. Sorry. And it is a 4-team tournament for women's basketball and for men's basketball. I'm only going to be covering the women's side, the women's side though. And it is located in the great city and state of Las Vegas, Nevada. So I will be traveling to Las Vegas from the Monday to the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. To cover that tournament, and I will be at I believe 4 games total in between 3 days, or I'm sorry, in between 2 days, and the 4 teams that are competing are Oklahoma with Reagan Beers, and that's about the only player I know on Oklahoma. So Oklahoma will be there. DePaul will be there. Duke with my favorite freshman, Toby Fournier. She will be there. And I forget the 4th team. Duke, Oklahoma, DePaul, and sorry, one second.
Is it a Big 12 school?
Kansas State. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Kansas State. So Ioka Lee, who we just talked about, I get to watch her in person. I apologize for forgetting that and forgetting.
That's all good. I think when I said Big 12, that helped you.
yeah. But plus I actually got to that matchup right as you said that, so that's funny. But Duke will be matching up against Kansas State in the first matchup, and then Oklahoma will be matching up against DePaul, and those two winners will play each other in the championship, and then the 2 losers will play each other in the consolation on Wednesday. So I will be covering all 4 of those games. I'm very, very excited to head down to Vegas and cover that tournament, and I'm excited to watch some good college basketball. I've been screaming from the rooftops about Toby Fournier. I'm excited that it's coming to fruition so far. She had a great game last game. I'm excited to see Reagan Beers in person again. She was one of my favorite players to watch at Oregon State last year. And then Ioka Lee, I'm excited. We just talked about her basically all show. I'm excited to watch her play in person as well. And then DePaul, you never know about a sneaky team, but nonetheless, 3 top 15 teams will be in this tournament, and I'm excited to be there.
Congratulations! I'm happy for you.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations! Oh my God.
Yeah, most definitely. Let me know how that goes. We'll definitely we'll bring you back on. Let me know your experience. I'll probably send you some questions for some stuff. But other than that, man, when do you leave?
I leave on Sunday. I leave Sunday night, and I'll get there at about close to 10, a little bit before.
Okay.
And then Monday is my first day at both of those games.
And where is that again?
It's at Lee's Family Forum. It's right. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that arena. I think it's a smallish arena. So we'll see. But another thing too is on Tuesday. I have a free day that day. I'm not covering any basketball that day. So I get to go see, as a fan, I get to go watch Furman in Seattle play in their tournament, and Duke in Kansas.
Lucky you. Lucky
Yeah, I'm so excited for this is going to be a great week for me this upcoming week.
you. For sure.
So
Congratulations. Let me know how it goes.
thank you, man.
I'll touch base with you sometime
Okay.
before you leave. But I know for me, I got to cover the Maryland women's basketball team again. Been 3 straight Sundays in a row. They play this upcoming Sunday, the St. Francis Red Flash. It's a school in PA. Never heard of them. I promise you. We're on a 5-game win streak. The next game after that was George Mason. Its conference schedule has actually been interesting to watch so far. I mean, they're really like their first like Big Ten opponent. Well, no, I say really their first really true opponent, maybe outside George Mason's Purdue, and then Michigan State, and then Rutgers. After that, that's when we really start getting into the conference play. But I'm crossing my fingers. January 8th on my calendar. Let me see. Yes, it's the number. It's USC. Juju Watkins coming to College Park. So I'm going to put my credentials in for that game. But they don't usually send that out until like a week or so before the game. So I'm hoping. Ladies and gentlemen,
you were there at the. Sorry to interrupt, but you were there at the Duke game. I'm curious to see, or I'm curious to hear, what do you think of Toby?
I think Toby will be a great player. I still think that with what Duke was last year, I think this year, she's still trying to figure out the rotations and all those different things. Right. I think she's still trying to figure out how to use her Toby as opposed to a stretch.
Right.
The potential's there because she had a couple blocks. She did airball a 3, but she was really. I thought she was kind of all over the place. I just think the Maryland's transition and defense, I think, really bothered the Blue Devils. But Toby, in all honesty, will be a great player. It's just I see the potential. I see the can be.
Yeah, she's labeled as a guard and she's 6'2", but she talked to me. I'm sorry. I talked to her back in April, and she kind of mentioned like how she's more of a post player and she's working to stretch the floor eventually, and that's something that she was excited to learn from Coach Watson. And I can see like down the stretch of the last couple of games, it's kind of came into fruition that what they've kind of envisioned for her as a player, already in year 1. I really like the veteran moves that she has. There's a lot of veteran moves that she has in her bag already as a freshman. That's the thing that's impressed me the most, both on offense and defense.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, Toby will be fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on them or on her.
Yeah. No, she's good. She's good. I like her. Once she just gets it, when she develops her jump shot a little bit more, I should put a little bit more muscle on her. Should be good. Should be all right.
Saying don't say I didn't tell you so, but looking good.
For sure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode of the podcast. Brenden, as always, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, be tuned for future episodes. This episode will go up sometime later today as it's being recorded, or sometime later this weekend. So definitely be tuned in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I will leave Brendan's Twitter and his link to World Exposure Report. And again, safe travels, Brenden, as you get ready to cover the first collegiate tournament Continue to do big things, and safe travels. And we'll talk soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please can like, comment, and subscribe for our future content. And also check out TeamNBSMedia's links in the description below. You can also follow me on MarylandSportsblog.com. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and yes, that's it. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay warm. And Thanksgiving is almost here. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I wanna thank you. All I wanna do is say thank you.